Hi guys, so this video is going to be a read and watch with me style vlog. So I'm going to pick a book that also has a movie adaptation, read the book, and then watch the movie, share my thoughts along the way. So for this video I actually picked a much older book, and the reason for that is because it is the book version of a movie that I really like. It's actually a Nicholas Sparks book and movie, Safe Haven. And the reason I'm picking that, I used to really like Nicholas Sparks way back when, but I haven't read a book of his in about at least 10 years. But I recently saw somebody talking about all of the Nicholas Sparks movies, so I was re-inspired to kind of check some, previous work of his out. I never read Safe Haven. I did read several of his other books, but I never read Safe Haven. I did see the movie, and it's probably one of my favorite movies of his. I don't know, it's up there. I'm not sure if I like that or The Notebook better. So I also like Dear John. So those three are my favorites, but I'm not sure which is my favorite. It would either be Safe Haven or The Notebook. But I don't know, I'd have to rewatch them. Probably The Notebook, but I'm not positive. So I have read The Notebook, but I haven't read Safe Haven, and I figured I would read that and then watch the movie and kind of compare, similarities, differences, what I thought, if I still enjoy reading Nicholas Sparks 10 years later, because I feel like he's I don't really hear much about him anymore. He was really popular for quite some time. I do see his new books out from time to time, and I have read, the synopsis of them, but they never seem super interesting, or I don't know, maybe I just never really felt like reading them. I'd have to go back and read the synopsis again to give it like a fair assessment. But yeah, so I'm going to start reading Safe Haven, and then I'm going to watch the movie, and I will take you along with me and share my thoughts along the way. Okay, little update. I decided to listen to the audio version of Safe Haven because it was available through my library, and that's free, and we always like free stuff. So I am listening to that, and I have to say, so far it's very engaging. You get right into the story. I know my attention span is not great, so sometimes stories, when they take a while to get going, it's hard for me to get into them. I always try to give a book around, 4 to 6 chapters just to give it a fair chance, but this book had me right from the beginning. It could be because I know it's coming and I've seen the movie. I kind of know it's coming. I don't know the differences between the movie and the book, but that could be why. So I don't know, but so far I'm really into it. It's very engaging, and yeah, I will share some updates. I just started it, so. Okay, hopefully this camera setup is working. It's not the best, but I did want to give a brief update. I'm about halfway through Safe Haven. I actually just went to the library. I was trying to see if they had a physical copy, but they didn't. So I'm about halfway through. It's my dog in the back. It's really good so far. It's like very engaging. You know how some books they're a little like laborious to get through in the beginning, like you're kind of like waiting for the action to start. This one, I feel like every time you might start to be like, okay, I've had enough of this scene, it's like into the next scene, and it's just like a good paced book. So also I really like the vibes of the town that they're in, and it's very much like the movie so far from what I remember. I haven't seen the movie in a few years, but from what I remember it's very much like the movie. So I'll be interesting to see like what happens and what happens as we get to the end. finished the Safe Haven book, so I completely finished it. I really liked it. There were like a few little things that I didn't love, and I will talk about that at the end of this video, but overall I really enjoyed it. It was a really quick listen, and it was engaging, it kept me interested, I wasn't bored, I enjoyed the characters for the most part, and the storyline was interesting, even though I've seen the movie. And as far as I remember, like I was saying, the movie and the book seem pretty similar. Now that I've finished the book, I have to say I can't recall too many changes. I think they kept the book pretty similar to the movie, which I wasn't expecting. So I'm actually going to watch the movie now. I'm going to make a little popcorn and watch the movie, see if there's any differences that maybe I forgot about between the movie and the book, and then at the end of this we'll compare. And I have a little checklist, so we'll go through the checklist to see what was the same and different with this book to movie adaptation. But okay, let's go watch it. Hi again. So we have reached the point of the video where we are going to discuss final thoughts in comparing the Safe Haven novel to the Safe Haven movie. It's quite literally the middle of a blizzard right now, so what better time to talk about books and movies? So I have developed a very extensive book-to-film adaptation checklist in my notebook. I'm just kidding, but I have made a bit of a checklist that I want to use in this video, as well as future book-to-film adaptation videos that I do plan on doing, probably with more recent adaptations, but I was in a Nicholas Sparks kind of mood, I guess, for this video, so I don't know what that means or what that means about me, but I don't know. I just felt like watching Safe Haven and reading the book and comparing. So here we are. So in order to compare the book to the film, we're going to go over a few different things. We're going to talk about if the book and the film had the same characters. Were the descriptions of the characters pretty much similar? How was the beginning of each? How was the ending of each? The major focus of each the same? What were the differences? Why were there differences? And did we need the differences? Were the changes made necessary? Pros and cons of each, favorite part of each, least favorite part of each, and which one was better, of course. So I just have to say Safe Haven, the book, the film, whichever one you're looking at. I mean, it's not the best work ever, obviously, but I don't know. We're just gonna talk about it anyways. I was in a mood to revisit stuff I've watched in my past, and then I was like, hey, I never read Safe Haven, why don't I give it a try? Weird thing, my friend just randomly messaged me and told me that they had just watched A Walk to Remember, so I don't know if the Nicholas Sparks bug is going around or why it ever would, but I don't know, strange coincidence if you ask me. So, when comparing the book to the movie, I do have to say that in this case, Safe Haven book and Safe Haven movie were very similar. Yes, there were some changes which we're going to talk about, but most of all, I would say that this book and movie were very similar to one another, and the movie really did follow the book pretty closely. So as far as having the same characters, because sometimes you will see, wild changes from book to film or TV show where all of the characters are different, some of the major characters are different. So I did want to touch on it, but for Safe Haven, the characters were the same. I believe they kept most of the characters' names the same as well. There might have been minor characters that were different, but nothing that that stood out to me as being relevant whatsoever. The major characters, which were Katie/Erin, Alex, the two lovebirds there, and then his kids, Josh, Lexi in the movie, but her name was Kristen in the book. So there are those people, and then there's Katie's ex-husband, Kevin, which I believe his name is the same in both, and then her friend Joe, and then Alex's late wife, who was named Carly. Characters were the same. Okay, character descriptions, not really that important. To me, it really doesn't matter if a character is described as having, for instance, brown hair in a book and in the movie they have blonde hair. Like, I really don't care about that. I can only see in certain circumstances where a description of a character, you know, how they're described physically, but also just their general, you know, descriptions, like their personality traits, what they do, their morals, beliefs, and stuff. I could only see in certain circumstances where that would be an issue if that was changed. So for this, though, there was really not much change at all. I think like a hair color or something like that, which really wasn't important. So nothing there. The beginning of the film versus the beginning of the book. So this was different. In the beginning of the book, we start with Katie. She's working at a restaurant and kind of thinking about, you know, her current situation without giving too much away. So we start a little slow, but it does engage you because you're kind of wondering what's going on with Katie. What is she, you know, you kind of get like the feeling that there's a secret that surrounds her. Now, in the beginning of the movie, I turned the movie on and was startled because it was so loud. It wasn't even that my volume was up, it was just like, boom, we're into it. So you have Julianne Hough, and I'm just going to call her Julianne because I am not sure if that's the right pronunciation of her name. I probably should have figured that out, but I believe it is Julianne Hough. So she is flying like a bat out of a cave, out of a house. There's really loud music, and we are immediately aware that something bad is happening and that she's not in a good situation. So, I had seen the movie years ago in theaters without ever reading the book, and I would find that type of beginning engaging. So, we have that. Do I have a preference between the beginnings? Not really. I think both were fine, both were good. If I had to choose, I would say the movie had a better beginning. Ending. So, the book and the movie actually ended pretty much exactly the same. We have Katie / Erin, we'll just call her Katie, reading a letter from Carly / Joe, because everyone's names change in this book and movie, but no, from Carly / Joe, you know, Alex's late wife / Katie's ghost friend, and she's reading a letter from her. And in both instances, it is sad. I found it a little more sad when reading the book, but I think that's because it was pretty much, if not exactly the same, in the movie version, so it was like I already heard it, I already kind of knew it was coming. And yeah, then we were kind of left knowing that Katie's in good hands with Alex, and, you know, happy ending kind of thing. So the ending is very much the same. You also have Kevin dying in both instances, and pretty much the same scenario with both, with like minor changes. So between the endings, I guess I'll give it to the book, just because I don't know, honestly they're both exactly the same, so I'll have to say they're both fine, and I liked the ending in both circumstances. Now let's talk about the major points of the book versus the major point of the movie. Again, very, very similar here. We have a character who is running from somebody that they have been abused and harmed by, her husband, and, you know, going to a new place and meeting a new love interest, pretty much. I would say the major difference here is the way that it's set up, and I think it's easier with the movie to do the setup that they did because it would be a little bit more complicated in the book. So in the book, we are never under the impression that Katie is some kind of murderer, that Katie has killed someone. Yes, we know she has a secret, and it does take a while to reveal exactly what's going on and what, you know, she's hiding. In the movie, however, she's being pursued by police as she's trying to flee the Boston area and go to where she ends up in North Carolina. And we are under the impression that it's the police pursuing her because of something that happened, because she, you know, possibly murdered somebody. Whereas in the book, that's not the case. So it's just like a bit more, I think they were just trying to make the movie a bit more of a thriller-style mystery, just to kind of give it a little more edge-of-your-seat kind of feeling, not really know what was going on. It was a little easier to do that with the movie, just because this semantics between a book and a movie, you just have different options with both. You know, which should I prefer? And I find this a little bit complicated, because I will say, when first watching the movie, yeah, I would prefer the setup of the movie, because you're kind of trying to figure out what exactly is going on. You're wondering, is Katie responsible for someone's death? You know, was it her fault? Did she do it purposely? Like, is she secretly bad? I mean, I don't think I ever really thought she was, but you really don't know what's going on. Whereas in the book, you're very much, you know that Katie is a good person who's just got some kind of a dark secret, something going on, and you can kind of figure out what it is. So the thing I don't like is I feel like with this movie, and with the book actually, Katie's abusive situation with her husband was almost used like a plot point. I've seen films and read books that have really addressed the topic a lot better in my opinion. I wouldn't hold it against the book or the movie writers of either. I don't feel like they were trying to exploit a woman being abused. I just feel like they didn't really grasp exactly what that meant, and they didn't do the best job portraying it. It was almost used as like, ooh, a mystery in the movie, like, oh, that's what's really going on, as opposed to actually really focusing on what that meant. And I feel the same in the book. I don't know if it was so much used as a plot point in the book, but almost. It almost felt like it was kind of like a plot point to keep a mystery going throughout the book, instead of exploring a woman's experience with being, abused by this horrible man and then being able to escape the situation. Although I do feel like the book addressed it better than the movie did. And I don't know, I've just seen it done better at this point. Now, granted, the book came out in 2010 and the movie came out in 2013, so there has been some time. I did actually watch Maid back in the fall, and I feel like that TV series did a really good job exploring the subject. So I don't know. I just feel like the movie and the book didn't do the best job with it. And going off that, I kind of feel like the book did a better job with the character of Katie and exploring, what she was going through. Whereas the movie, I felt like, we just kind of met her, we knew something was amiss, and then it was almost just like she was, acting completely fine. Like I don't know, they had her a lot more guarded in the book, whereas in the movie, I feel like she just was very open to becoming part of this family with a new man, and to me, that's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that it didn't really match the character we were set up with at the beginning of the movie. So yeah, I feel like the major points were the same, and as far as the differences, that was really the difference, just the setup and the handling of the actual storyline. We were just given it in two different ways. In the book, again, we didn't have the idea that maybe Katie had been involved in some type of murder, whereas, in the movie we did, and we thought that her husband was a cop at first. I don't even know how long I believed that twist when I originally watched the movie. I feel like it becomes more apparent before they actually reveal it. Were the changes necessary? No, but I do think it probably, made the movie a little bit more faster paced, and that's probably why they made the changes that they did. Overall, though, the change from the book to the movie, I wouldn't say it was minor, but it really didn't change the movie either way. It was still the same, general story. So now let's talk about pros and cons of each, the book and the movie. As far as the book, pros and cons of each. So the book I really liked. I mean, there was only a few things that I didn't like when it comes to the book. So what I liked about the book, I liked most of it. I liked the story, I liked the characters, and, I thought it was interesting. It wasn't one of my favorite books of all times, but the pace was really good. Some of the descriptions were nice. Like, I did enjoy the book. What I didn't really like about it was just some of the perspectives just felt a little off to me. So, for instance, there was just such a heavy focus in the book on Katie's appearance. Oh, she's really thin. Oh, she's put on a little weight, but she's still really thin. Katie's really thin. She's really skinny. I mean, we heard that about 1,000,000 times in the book. Okay, your point. We get it. You can describe a character. I do understand that, but it was just a little bit over the top, like heavily focused on that. There's a scene where she kind of makes fun of Alex and his weight, and I'm just like, why are we putting this in this book? I don't understand. But not only that, it just, Katie, her appearance is so heavily focused on by all of the male characters, We have her husband Kevin going on and on about her appearance. He likes her to dress sexy. And we know that he's a harmful character, so it kind of makes sense in his point of view that we get that from him. But then when we get to Alex's point of view, which is her, new love interest, he focuses on her appearance a lot too. There's just a heavy focus on that, and he's supposed to be the good guy, So he's like always thinking how beautiful she is, how amazing she looks, looking at her legs, looking at, her body, and like there's little bits of that. And then he even makes a comment during the book, which I was just like, really? I don't know if he says it to her, if he's just thinking it. I think he's just thinking it. Katie could be the prettiest woman in the world when she tries. I'm like, when she tries? Like, why wouldn't you just think she's always pretty if, you're in love with her and stuff? So, I don't know, just such a heavy focus on the appearance. But, and this is what bothered me, when we're talking about Alex's character, the male character, it's all about how good of a person he is and, like, those kind of traits. And, yes, there's a little bit of his appearance mentioned, but that's not the heavy focus, and that's not why Katie falls for him. It feels like Alex falls for Katie because she's beautiful, and Katie falls for Alex because we're meant to believe he's such a good person. I don't know. I also didn't really feel the chemistry that much in the book. I kind of felt like Alex, maybe it was because of what I just described, wasn't really, like, that great of a person. Like, he was fine, but I didn't feel like he was as amazing as everyone made him out to be, and he seemed a little bit shallow to me. So that's just my thoughts. Now let's move on to, I guess, pros and cons of the movie. So, in the movie, I will say that the appearance-based stuff is definitely not as heavy. You know, we're not just talking about how beautiful Katie is and how great of a man Alex is. Yes, we do hear that Alex is a good man. He's been through a lot. But I don't feel like there's just such a heavy focus on Katie's appearance as there was in the book. And Alex in the movie is a lot more likable. I don't love the guy. I don't know. I wasn't like super fond of him the first time I saw the movie. The actor they chose, he's fine. Like I don't know. I guess once you have Ryan Gosling in The Notebook, there's just no beating it. So, but I will say that a pro, for the movie is that the character of Alex is just much more likable. He's kind of goofy. Yes, he gets serious at times. He's a little annoying sometimes, but he doesn't come across as shallow to me. He comes across as someone with, a genuine good heart as they're trying to portray him in the book. It's just more believable to me in the movie. A con of the movie in comparison to the book actually has to do with Katie's character. I really did feel like in the book her character and the actions of her character made sense, but in the movie, again, we have Katie being very guarded at the beginning, and something bad is going on, but then it's just like this instant switch where she's just suddenly fine with Alex and wanting to be with him, and she like wants to go hang out with them at the beach out of the clear blue. I don't know, it just felt like it was too quick. Like, it didn't really make sense for the character. I feel like because I had read the book too, I was expecting Katie in the movie to be more guarded and like really take her time opening up, but she really didn't. I don't know, in some respects, I guess she did. Like, she didn't tell him the whole truth about what was going on with her past, but she was just, like, fine, spending time with him and his family, and didn't really seem to, I don't know, be as hesitant to let a new man in as she was in the book. So, again, I don't know if it's quite a con. It just kind of made me feel like the character didn't really make as much sense as she did in the book. And with both the book and the movie, I didn't really feel the chemistry between Katie and Alex, like in the movie with Julianne Hough and is it Josh Jamal? Is that how you say it? I didn't really, I don't know, I kind of felt it. It wasn't totally off, but the chemistry in both of these pieces of work was just wasn't really fully there for me. I don't know if it was the age difference in the movie, I'm not quite sure, but I don't know what it was, but there's just something a little bit off with the chemistry in both of these, the book and the movie. So, of the book, my least favorite part was definitely just the heavy, heavy focus on Katie's appearance and just really, I don't know the right terminology for it, but it was just, I feel like we were just sexualizing her way too much when this was supposed to be a woman who's traumatized, and I really just wish the book had stopped focusing so much on her being attractive to Alex on a physical level and gone deeper with that. My favorite parts of the book, I liked the first date that they had. I liked the letter that she read at the end of the book. I really did. I teared up at that. And the scenes actually with Katie when she was Erin, went by the name of Erin, with her ex, I don't know if you call him her ex-husband, but with her husband, describing what she had to go through to get out of her abusive situation. I actually just found them very interesting, so I did enjoy those parts of the book. Now, when it comes to the movie, my least favorite part of the movie was the fact that Julianne has this long dark hair, and then she chops it off and dyes it blonde, and there's just no way that she did that herself. Like, it's definitely a salon job. And I'm just kidding, but seriously, that pulled me out. I kept looking at her hair and being like, wow, her hair looks really beautiful in that movie. And I was like, there's no way that she just in a half hour just dyed her hair like that at her neighbor's house. That just didn't happen, and it bothered me. But in all seriousness, I think it's basically what I already said. My least favorite part is just that I felt like Katie's character just maybe her, character development, it just went too quickly. She just went from being very guarded, walls up, and then walls were suddenly completely down, and I just felt like the transition to that wasn't really believable. Can I say one other thing that I disliked about the movie, and I suppose the book as well, but Katie's living situation? If you're trying to be on the run from an abusive husband, and she's talking about having barely any money in the book, she would save a couple dollars at a time, barely had a couple $100, and then she's working, and is almost immediately able to rent out a house. And in the movie, they make it seem like she bought the house. They don't even talk about her renting it. Yes, the house is run down, but do you know, how much money it is to just buy a house? I mean, it's not easy, and they make it seem like it's just so easy. And I found that in both the book and the movie to be very, hard to believe. I just felt like that was just way too easy of a setup, and we could have explored that a little more, or it could have just, we maybe found a situation that made a little bit more sense. Okay, so let's get down to the final question. Which was better, the book or the film? And honestly, when I went into this, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to say the film because I've always really liked Safe Haven. But after reading the book and then watching the movie, I have to say the book is better just because we get a better understanding of Katie's situation. Yes, because they're so similar, I did enjoy both of them. I don't hate the movie. I mean, if you wanted to, you could sit and pick apart any Nicholas Sparks movie at just like how ridiculous they are. But if you go into it knowing it's a Nicholas Sparks film, then it's a different experience. Like, you can't go into it expecting anything amazing. It's just like, it's enjoyable in its own way. I mean, I like a lot of Nicholas Sparks movies. Some of them I don't like at all, but they're enjoyable in their own way, if that makes any sense. And to be honest, I can see like why they don't do Nicholas Sparks movies anymore. And why he's not as popular. Like, I get it. I don't want to go into all that in this video, but anyways, I think if I had to pick, I would choose the book, but just barely, because they really are almost the same, the book and the movie, and I really did like the movie. It's just that, again, Katie's character didn't add up enough for me to really, be able to believe it. Also, like, they just had to add a water scene, right? Like, that was not in the book. Like, they're in a canoe or something, they go for a canoe ride and get caught in the rain. It's like, isn't that in every Nicholas Sparks movie? I don't know, like, why does that, they can't, like, come up with a different romantic scenario? I just feel like I've seen that a couple of times at least. Like, I can't think of exactly, I know there's one in The Notebook, but I feel like there's another movie, like maybe The Lucky One, where they are in the rain or something too. Maybe I'm wrong. I could be wrong on that one. Is Dear John. They have a rain scene too, don't they? Nicholas Sparks movie, they just love to put the characters in a scene where they're like being rained on and then romance happens. Like, do we really need that in every movie? Can we be a little bit more creative? Okay, but overall, this video has been long enough. It is still snowing so much outside. But that is it for this movie to film adaptation. I will be doing more in the future, so if you do have any suggestions, let me know in the comments down below. But thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to see more videos like this. And yeah, till next time.